right. Okay, now we're going to talk about the venue-specific emergency action plans. So we're going to kind of go through with each sport. So the first one's going to be football and soccer. Since they use a lot of the same facilities, we will kind of talk through. Some of it will be applicable to soccer and some will not, specifically the equipment that we have to remove for football. But it's still similar information, so we're going to lump you guys together. Okay, so what is an emergency action plan? An emergency action plan is what are the roles of all the responders, including coaches, when we need to deal with an emergency. So we use the venue specific, so that we have the most up-to-date information available for each venue. So for example, football has a lot of coaches, where soccer has a lot less coaches. So we have different personnel available, different equipment involved in different locations that we are going to have an emergency at. So here is our EAP route for the track, tennis, softball, baseball, football practice field / grass soccer field. We are going to have the ambulance come up 2550, or what's now Spanish Fork Parkway. They're going to come down next to the seminary building on that little bus route, turn and come up the sidewalk past the tennis courts. There is a gate here and a gate here that might need to be opened. Both are usually opened throughout the day, but every once in a while this one gets closed randomly, so make sure. And then if it is early in the day, this one might not have been opened yet, and they'll keep driving up and go to whatever location they need to. Okay. We don't encourage them to drive on the grass, particularly this area, because it can get really swampy, so don't want to cause any issues. And we prefer that the ambulance does not drive on the track or the turf, if at all possible, just so that it doesn't tear it up. But that one is a decision that will be made based on the danger of it. Now, with the track and the area inside, we'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but definitely something that you need to make note of is for football game days, we'll actually have them come a different way than during practices. This is a much more close route and a lot easier to load a patient, but this is a lot easier and a lot less crowded during a football game, and we can get an ambulance kind of right up next to the practice facility. For when we're dealing with that football stadium or indoor facility, like I said, they're going to come down 130 north, okay, and then they'll turn right into the parking lot and go either into the indoor facility or come through that gate. There is a gate there with the 105 key. So far, all these gates have been the 105 key. So as you're determining what roles people will play in an EAP, make sure you have the keys designated to the right person so that they can go unlock and open gates. Okay, so that ambulance will drive right up here and sit there, and then they'll gurney out onto the turf field. I have this picture. I've had it on both slides. The Kestrel is our wet bulb globe thermometer, essentially, and it tracks the amount of moisture in the air, so the humidity, and it's going to make sure or let us know if it is safe for our athletes to participate on that surface. The turf is our hottest surface besides the asphalt, so our band and our people using the turf field are the ones at most risk typically. This is the chart that will sit on the wet bulb globe. It's actually just attached to it with a lanyard, and it will actually say exactly what color. It'll say green, yellow, orange, red, or whatever, and then you'll go to that chart and you modify your activity accordingly. So really, it's only when we get into black that we can't have an outdoor workout. Most often, it just means we need to move over to the grass instead of being on the turf. Now, often people think, oh, I'm just going to turn on the water cannons on the turf, but what you need to understand is the water cannons don't work immediately. They actually need time for them to cool down the turf and then for it to evaporate. Because once that water gets down on that turf and heats up, it's going to actually become steamy and actually increase this up to a much higher red or black if we were, say, in the orange or something like that. And so it's going to take about 2 hours for us to get down to a good temperature. So we usually will put them, for example, if we have a 3:00 game, we'll turn them on around 1:00 and then monitor for the next 2 hours to make sure that we are in a good zone. So that can be a little dangerous, especially on those afternoon games that are earlier in the day. We don't worry as much with the evening games. It's not impossible, but it is something that we might need to be prepared for. Okay, other rooms that you might need to use as coaches would be the weight room or the spin room. So the ambulance is just going to come down, hit that one gate, and then just go right in towards the main gym. Or these doors are sometimes locked in the afternoon, so I recommend coming through this one and then just going up to the weight room if you're going that direction, or the spin room's right here. The athletic training room's kind of similar. They're going to come down that same road and then just come to the outdoor entrance of the training room. Okay, so the roles of the first responders is we need somebody to activate the EMS by calling 911. We're going to provide them information of the individual injured or individuals, what care has been given, the directions of where they need to come at the school. Then we need to activate the phone tree. The phone tree looks like, I should have grabbed one. Looks like this. And essentially, it's if an athlete is injured, is it life-threatening? We're going to call 911. If it's not, then we call the athletic trainer. Okay, if you've called 911, then call us. Okay, if it's life-threatening, let's get ambulance on the way. Then we'll call parents and the administration, get the administration here, and then kind of go that way. So this is just a basic tree, but it's so that we don't leave somebody out, especially that we're making sure 911 is the number one call. I am cool, but I'm not that cool. We want to make sure we get the right people here. Okay, and then we want to make sure that any equipment that we need, emergency equipment wise, we have somebody that's designated to grab that and bring that to the athlete, and then somebody to direct the EMS to the scene, including like opening the gates or flag down the EMS, and to control the scene. We often don't think about it, but the team and the crowd could be an issue, and we might need to create some privacy for the athlete, or we may need to remove the team from that area so they don't see it and become a second victim themselves. So I have this form, and I'll fill it out for each team based on what the head coach gives me. But there are actually roles that each person's going to play as a coach on your team. Now, if you have a lot of coaches like football, then you will have plenty of coaches to do that. If you have a smaller team like soccer, you might have a couple of roles per person. So just be aware of that. Kind of look through that, and as you're assigning it to various coaches, communicate with them what they're going to be doing and understanding what to do in the case of an emergency. We do have all of our emergency equipment in the training room or in the golf cart, just depending on where we're located for that time. We try really hard to make sure we have an AED near outdoor activities. But if for whatever reason we're not out there, because it would be traveling with us, there are a few other AEDs located around the school. And I actually haven't updated this, but there is a new AED inside the indoor practice facility. And then as the athletic trainer, we have 2 AEDs, so one in each golf cart that we have. Or if one of us is indoors with a game, one might have one indoor and one might have one outdoor. So there are various AEDs located through the school. There's one near the welding classroom by upstairs faculty and downstairs faculty by the auditorium and by the spin room, and then like I said, 2 for the athletic trainers and 1 for the indoor practice facility. So make note of which ones are closest to your practice location or your lifting location, so you know where to grab one if we're not near you. Okay, we are going to try to have emergency ice ready. If the indoor facility is being used, we'll have an ice chest out there with ice bags. I know some of our sports like to have an individual cooler left for them, like softball does. So if that's something you guys would like, you would just use it and then leave it back in the hallway after you've done your ice bags for the night. Over at the concession stand, track and field has a huge deep freeze in the center closet where the referees go. In there, we will have 40 or 50 bags made. They won't be perfect because they'll be hard from being frozen in there, but that is at least an area where you can get some emergency ice quickly. And then obviously we have our ice machine here in the training room that we will use in case we need to do like a cold tub immersion or something like that. Okay, hopefully that kind of helps you learn what we need to do in a case of an emergency.